A short timeline of the Russian Revolution and the Bolshevik-Menshevik split. The Russian Revolution is a turning point in history of Russia and the world. It was a struggle for power between two factions, the Bolsheviks and Mensheviks. The Russian Revolution started in February 1917 with the overthrow of the Tsar, Nicholas II. It then ended with Vladimir Lenin's rise to power in October 1918. The Bolshevik-Menshevik split happened after Lenin became the leader of Russia, and it was an ideological difference between Bolsheviks and Mensheviks who were competing for power within the new Soviet government. The members of both factions were extremely ideological, thinking like revolutionaries in their respective ideologies. The Bolsheviks were very different from the Mensheviks, as they were more radical and wanted to take quick, decisive action. They believed in a revolution that would overthrow the Tsarist government and quickly establish a socialist order. The Bolsheviks also viewed the newly formed Soviet Union as having the potential to be a great place for socialism to flourish. Bolshevik was a derogatory term to describe members of the Russian Social Democratic Workers' Party, who believed in or advocated proletarian internationalism and were the majority of the party. Lenin was the leader of the Bolsheviks and believed in a strategy called democratic centralism. This theory states that different groups are allowed to exist, but they should always be subject to leadership by the majority. He also believed in a vanguard party made up of true Marxist-Leninists that could lead the revolution. The Bolsheviks did not believe in democracy because it would undermine their party. The marriage of Bolsheviks and international socialists played out differently in different countries. In Germany, however, there was a split between the Social Democrats, SPD, who wanted parliamentary democracy, and the Communists, led by Wilhelm Pieck, who wanted a dictatorship of the proletariat. The leadership of the SPD declared that anyone who supported communism was a traitor to socialism. The rise of Trotskyism and the fall of Leninism in Russia. The rise of Trotskyism and the fall of Leninism in Russia is a significant event in the history of Russia. It's a good example of how political ideas can change over time. The Bolshevik Revolution was originally a socialist revolution that brought about communism and the end of capitalism. However, it ultimately led to Stalin's dictatorship. As opposed to Leninist doctrine, which believes in authoritarian centralism and state socialism. The two revolutions had different outcomes, but they were both pivotal moments in Russian history, because they changed how people thought about politics and society. It led to a series of revolutions that was ultimately stopped by Tsar Nicholas II. The Bolshevik Revolution occurred in Russia when Lenin and his comrades took control over Petrograd. For 6 months before declaring that their parliament, known as the Soviet, would rule Russia. After the Russian Revolution, some of the leaders of Russia became communist and wanted to change society. In the 1900s, Russian society was in a state of social instability because of the severe economic disparity between the rich and poor. The Soviet Union's downfall began in 1991 when Ukraine declared its independence from the USSR and became a sovereign state. This led to the breakup of the Soviet Union and Russia became an independent country. Some facts to know about Russia. 1. In Russia, the economy is largely based on agriculture. 2. In 2012, the country had a GDP of $2 trillion. 3. In 2014, there were 96.2 million Russians living in the country, and an estimated population of 142 million. 4. The Russian Federation is the largest country in Europe and in the world. 5. It's estimated that Russia had approximately 3,000 different languages originally. 6. Russia has a total area of 17.0 million square mile, 44,100 km. 7. Russia can be divided into 6 different zones: European Russia, the Russian Far East, the Central Russian Upland, the Siberian Taiga, Steppe and Arctic Tundra. The formation of the Soviet Union. The formation of the Soviet Union was an event that changed the world forever. This happened in 1917, and it was a significant turning point in history. The Soviet Union had many different effects on the world, including political, economic, cultural, and military effects. During this time, Russia was able to take control of Eastern Europe and gain territories such as Ukraine, Belarus, and Georgia. The Soviet Union allowed for the spread of communism to Europe, and this was a significant turning point in history. The Soviet system became the model for other communist regimes around the world, including China and North Korea. The Soviet Union changed how Europe was governed, more so than any other European nation. The Soviet Union was a leader in scientific, technological, and economic development. They were also at the forefront of space exploration. The Soviet system supported extensive research in science, technology, and mathematics, as well as military spending. Music was very important to Russians, especially for people who were part of the Communist Party. The Russian government spent a large amount of money on the arts, including theater, opera, and ballet. Enlightenment values were very important to the Soviet Union because they promoted equality among all people. The Soviet system was mainly based on Marxist ideology, which advocated that social classes would eventually disappear. 1. What was the Soviet Union's most significant impact on the world? Building a lasting peace in Europe, spreading communism throughout the world, and having a significant effect on the United States and other countries. 2. What is known about what happened in Eastern Europe? The Soviet Union took control of Eastern Europe, with little resistance from any European nation. 3. What caused the Soviet Union to collapse? The Soviet Union collapsed because of corruption and social problems such as alcoholism, drug abuse, and mental illness among the ruling elite. 4. How many people did the Soviet Union have during its peak? The Soviet Union had a population of about 200 million people in 1947. 5. What was the official language of the Soviet Union? It was Russian. 6. What types of people were living in the Soviet Union? The Soviet Union had 3 classes of people: workers, peasants, and officials. 7. How was life in Eastern Europe before World War II? In Eastern Europe, people were generally poor and underprivileged, with many living in poverty. Eastern Europeans also suffered from the frequent wars. 8. What was life like in the Soviet Union? Life was difficult for people living in Russia, but it was a lot better than what many other people had to endure. Life in the Soviet Union was difficult. 9. How did the Soviet Union affect Eastern Europe? It improved living conditions, but only for a short time before communism fell and the Soviet Union dissolved. 10. How did Eastern Europe change after World War II? It began to slowly change after World War II because of the Soviet Union and also because of communist ideas that were spread in these countries. 11. What was the Cold War? It was a period of military tension between the Soviet Union and the United States that lasted from 1945 to 1991. Russia won a major victory in this war when they invaded Afghanistan in 1979. Stay tuned for Part 2 of the history of a failed revolution in Russia from 1917 to 1919, and don't forget to subscribe.